me.
Welcome to MBRITT Profiles, Episode 2. And that's Chris Reynolds, my friend Chris Reynolds, CRGTR on the Kemper Forum. And he's playing my #1 red guitar and showing me how to play some funk licks.
Gotta get the funk.
And our friend Chris Bean just walked in, somewhere over here. Come on, guys. What's up?
You can have nice.
No,
nice
that's
spot.
your seat.
No, take it up. Get all up in here, but watch the bear.
I'll leave the important stuff over there. So what are we going to do today, Chris?
Let's talk about how to do some really cool edits and some shortcuts. For those of us who are not as enlightened as you are, I've already found out in the past half hour that I'm taking the long way to do everything on here.
And I'm by no means an expert, and I don't know everything, and these are all my disclaimers. There's a whole lot I still have to learn, and there's probably stuff you guys could teach me, but this is what I'm going to try to enlighten whoever's around. But I figured we'd first start with just how to build a tone out of a profile, because usually I sell my profiles and they're pretty basic. There's not a lot of effects on it, but most times when you hear songs on the radio or playing live, you know, you add your gap to it. So first thing I always do is just try to I think about what sound I want to use for it. How much gain do I need? What kind of amp do I want to use? And then I just kind of work from there. So for instance, if I'm going to do a funk thing, I want something clean. So I've got 5 different clean sounds, I got 100, but 5 of my favorite clean sounds. I just figure out which one I want. So I think, okay, what if I want a Guytron, because I got that new Guytron pack and it's got a really cool spanky clean. Let me find one of those.
And so, you're using Rig Manager right now.
Yeah, I'm going to do it because it's a little bit, I've got so many profiles on here that it's time consuming to scroll. So play this a little bit, Chris, and so this is some guy asked about a Nile Rodgers type sound, so I started thinking, what would a Nile Rodgers sound? Go to the neck pickup just for a sec, and I'm going to make sure that I can set the gain where I want it. I'm going to go down a little bit on the gain and make it cleaner. The reverb's a little too long, so I'm going to shorten that way up, because my stock reverb's kind of long because it's like an old spring reverb sound, even though there's no spring reverb.
Gain, I'm not
One of these
off.
days. So we're going to shorten that. I'm going to add some delay up here too. Turn it on. Not a ton. We don't need tap delays. We just need regular delay. Don't need any of that junk. I'm going to go for really short. Actually, I'm going to go how about an analog tape? There we go. I want something real short and slapbacky, almost a double. So around 60, 70, I'll go 90 milliseconds roughly. Okay. So way too much reverb. Let me get the reverb down. Sorry. I don't know why the reverb sounds so strong there, but I've got it almost off. Keep going. I'm still hearing reverb. Are you hearing reverb?
There's a lot of reverb.
I've got it off.
Wow.
Although 100% dry. So this is kind of a glitch. So this is good that sometimes if you change the setting and go back, it'll reset it. So let's see if that works. Nope, it's still got reverb.
Somebody says those P90s sound delicious.
They do sound delicious. Those are Duncan Antiquity P90s. Maybe it's the delay up here.
Because you went for that 60 millisecond.
It tells me I've got 80. I forgot to turn the feedback down. There we go. That was my bad. No glitch. So, for some reason, this sounds really dark in here. Just one second. Let me make sure. You can even go to the bridge for that really
Skanky.
in the track that you're doing. So you start with the sound, and then you go with the add the effects, and then you save it to where you want it.
So you were talking earlier about, say you have a song, specific sound you're looking for, but you want to try a different amp with that sound. But you know, I know when I do that, I change it, and I have to go back and add all my effects back in. Then I have to go and tell the remote, add all my presets down here, and it takes me about 15 minutes to change an amp. And then after I'm all done, I'm not even sure if it sounds better or sounds the same, or I can't even tell because it's been so long.
So what I have found, and I didn't find it right away, I only found this fairly recently, in performance mode, it's really handy. So anybody that's got the Kemper remote in performance mode, this is where this really comes into play. You can do it in browse mode, but for some reason I just really like in performance mode the simplicity, because you've got a preset, you've got it named, you've got all your GAC, your effects already lined up. I've already got everything stored. I come up here to the stack button, because I never used these big stomp stack effects before. And then I found out if I hold the stack button down, it's basically capturing, or it's basically saying everything that's in this amp, EQ, and cabinet. When you, just like you can when you turn it, so just like you can when you turn it to get a browser, you know, to turn the browser to get your thing, when you've got the stack button illuminated or selected, you can scroll through different sets. So you can have presets or from rigs. So you're getting stacks, so the whole amp, EQ, and cabinet from either presets or rigs. And what I do is I store, once I find my favorite, however many amp sounds, I've got 55 now, I need to go through and delete some. But if you only have like 4 or 5 favorite amp sounds, store those stacks as presets. And the way you do that is you find the stack that you want and you hit store, and you can store stack or entire performance. And you want to store stack. So you store that stack, and then it becomes a preset. So that when you turn this, if you're scrolling from presets, you can grab them quickly, and you can name them whatever you want.
Just like when you store your effects.
Exactly. You store groups of effects. I do that with my stomp box. So I've got different pedal boards. I've actually just got one pedal board that's got a wah, compressor, and a tube screamer on it. Typically, not on this because it's a different sound. But so then what you do is you can change it. So I can go, okay, I want a clean sound. I've got third power blackface clean 1, clean 2, clean 3, and I can just kind of scroll through them and play and see which one I like the best without having to redo all the effects. I can kind of just replace the amp section.
So you can actually get a fair representation of this sound right up against this other sound with the correct effects.
And it's pretty quick. Actually, I've done this during sound check. We'll be in the middle of a song. I'll go over, hit the stack, scroll through a couple different presets, and while the song is playing, I can usually audition 2 or 3 amp sounds.
Which is very convenient.
So it's very convenient. And then another thing you were asking me about too, when you were talking about assigning all the different stomps.
Yeah, because if I change the amp, it immediately deletes all my presets down here that I had for 1 through 4 for my effects.
Correct. And there's a shortcut to do that. If you don't have anything assigned already, then I'll get there eventually. So if you don't have anything assigned, like you see nothing is assigned, if you hit the rig button and you scroll over to the page where it shows the assignments, assign 1, assign 2, assign 3, assign 4, it says press store to auto assign. So you hit store, and now it's auto assigned the buttons. So I've got compressor.
That's freaking cool.
So yeah, so everything is auto assigned. I just hit save or store. So yeah, all these buttons right here are lit up. So then you just store that just like you would any other preset. So hit store and replace. So hit store and replace. I hit the wrong one. Hit store and replace. There you go. And then now it's stored. And like I said, you can do the same thing with the stacks, with the stomps. So I hit stomps. I've got presets. I just go to the one preset that I use most of the time. And now I've got wah, compressor, and tube screamer there. And I'll hit store and replace. And now that preset has all the assignments.
Just replace everything down here on the board.
Yep.
That's pretty darn cool.
So just little shortcuts. You know, it's
saves a ton of time.
There's the cool thing about the Kemper is so customizable to do. I mean, it's got so many different features. So whatever you need it to do, you can usually find a way to do it. And always tell everybody, like when my buddies first get their Kempers and they're trying to set it up for the first time. In fact, I got to call this one guy as soon as we get done here. A lot of people want to know how to set up the output section. When you go to the page 2 of 6 on the output volumes, you've got main volume, monitor volume, direct volume, and headphone volume. This main volume is the one going to your XLR, so that's going to the front of house mix. You don't want that to change typically. You want that consistent.
No, soundmen hate it when that changes.
Yeah, because they set their gain on the board and they want to leave it there. So I've got it set at minus 17.8.
Jerry Evil just said, this reiterates how much I don't know about my Kemper. I'm with you, bud.
You want to turn off the main out link. So hit that button, make sure that's unselected. So you want that light, not dark. That way, your front of house, no matter what you do to this master volume knob up here, you don't change the front of house send.
So you can, if you can't hear yourself enough on stage, or you're
the only thing I have linked,
too loud on stage, you can change that without affecting the front of house.
Exactly. You go to your monitor volume, make sure that is selected. So now this master volume up here is only affecting. You can see the lights going up and down. That's your monitor output send. So if you're going to a power amp or to a power engine or whatever full range flat response cabinet you have, this is your stage volume, and your front of house volume always stays the same. So just little tricks like that, and it makes your live life very easy.
Yeah, the soundman last weekend, or weekend before last, was very happy with my rig. I mean, I turned it down so I wanted to hear what the front of house sounded like. Didn't affect him at all. Show went on just fine, and it's very clean.
And I had a couple questions about, last week I used or 2 weeks ago I had the power station and a regular guitar cabinet, and I use that sometimes. I also use this Tech 21 power engine sometimes. I've got other speakers that I'll use to try things out with, but they were asking if I use that on the road. No, not yet. I'm still using, just because I have a rack that's already built for a head and all that stuff, I don't want to have to redo the entire rack. I would use it live. I would have no problem using that live. In fact, I would probably like it a tiny bit better than what I'm using, but it would entail redoing a $1,000 rack. So, and some people just like the sound of full range cabinets, you know, the PA type cabinets. Some people like the sound of the power engines. Some people like the sound of the power amp in and the cabinet. So it's whatever you get used to. I don't think I can't say there's any set in stone rule.
Yeah, I've been switching back and forth on my little gigs. Was using just the power engine, and it was okay. And then I went to just using the power station with the boogie cabinet, and it sounded good. It actually felt better. But last weekend I took 2 power engines out, and one of them has the classic lead 80 that you like, and the other one's stock. That setup sounded better in the band than anything I've used so far. But the feel really wasn't exactly like I wanted it. So what I may end up doing is doing a hybrid, use this on the boogie cab and one of these, and run stereo out and to try to capture a little bit more of that. But still, like you said, there's no one way. I'm just kind of playing with it still.
It's what you get used to too, and some people like brighter sounds, some people like darker sounds, and to me, the brightness darkness is very volume dependent, because at certain volumes, I mean, I can get a PA cabinet sound one way at a low volume, you start turning it up and it totally changes the EQ. So
sure, yeah.
It's whatever volume you're used to, and all that. Plus the tube amps to me just have the solid state amps just feel linear. Like as you turn it up, it gets louder this way. The tube amps, there's some sort of curve going on, and it has a little bit more punch, and it doesn't sound as good. You know, it's not as
Pure.
Exact. Yeah, it's not as pure, but there's something about the feel that for somebody that's been playing tube amps for 20 years, it feels more comfortable.
And with tube amps, you can always replace the tubes to get a different sound too. I mean, as you know, that's a huge difference in the sound. And this thing I really like, because you actually have some control over the tone. Once again, it doesn't affect the front of house.
Exactly. That's just for your monitors, and that's why, you know, in a perfect world, I would be using that live. But I honestly like having it around here, because I play more here than I do live shows, because we do 60 shows a year. I'm here probably way more than that. Yeah. So I use that more here than I would use it on the road.
You guys compared that to the built-in power amp? And yeah, I know you don't have a power amp.
That's a good question, because
that's like, I'm on the I don't have a power. I've got the unpowered, and I'm kind of wanting to go. I mean, I go back and forth, kind of like probably some of you guys have, and I'm thinking about going back to the powered.
Well, Jimmy Olander's got a powered one. I have not heard his, and
right.
Pete Turley, he also does profiles. He just did a big review of a powered version. He really liked it. So I kind of want to get my hands on one, because honestly, I've never played through the powered version.
Okay. I'm curious about it too. Of course, that would probably mean I would have to buy new cabinets.
Another Kemper. Yeah.
And another Kemper on top of that.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's also just third-party power things you can put in the back.
I did see that. Although the picture you sent me last week showed a whole different way to use that space back there.
Yeah, somebody had posted on the Kemper Facebook page. It was one of these open back, toasters, but it had a bunch of these little Jaeger bottles all lined up inside. I thought,
That's a way better idea.
that is a way better idea.
I thought that's what they had it for.
Yeah, that's what I.
I mean, I still haven't. It's been 3 years and there's nothing back there.
Well, I bought mine used, so I figured the guy just didn't send that with it.
You maybe drank them all before he sold them.
That's what I was guessing.
Yeah. Any other questions?
What else? Has anybody been talking? I saw.
DI profiles while you're out on the road.
DI profiles. And somebody else asked me what I thought of the merged ones, and I don't ever want to badmouth anything Kemper does. I personally don't like the merged profiles. I've compared them side by side with the studio profiles I get, and it's not that they sound bad, they just don't have the same sweetness to them. And to me, it's a sweetness thing.
Yeah.
Now, for people that use big 412 cabs on stage and they want to sound just like a guitar amp on stage, I can see how those would be exactly what those people want.
Yeah.
The problem I have with putting them out, for me, is that I don't know what I'm putting out. I don't know if any of you have ever heard a DI, like straight DI take out of an amp. It is horrendous. It is just buzzy, and I wouldn't know what I'm putting out, honestly. I mean, I could set the amp and I'd think, okay, this is where it sounded good through a cab, but what if somebody plugs that into another cab that doesn't sound the same as that cab? I really have no idea what I'd be putting out.
Yeah.
And there's really no art to it. I mean, you just plug a DI in and go. And I will say that I know Kemper has a DI out that I haven't tried yet, but different DIs do sound different. And,
Sure.
And I've tried remerging different ones, and I just can't get them to sound as good. And to me, my whole thing is front of house. I want my front of house through the PA to sound as good as it can get.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't care about how great it sounds on stage sometimes. I want it to sound good for the people that paid a lot of money to see a show. So, but if you're in a band that doesn't go through the PA much, if you're only relying on stage volume, I can see how that would come in handy. But really, there's no art to it. It's just a matter of getting your hands on an amp and a decent DI, because all DIs sound different.
Oh, yeah. A radial should sound way better than a Proco.
Well, and I've used a radial. I've used Countryman's.
Countryman,
they didn't sound that good. The radial sounds way better, but I still hear phasing. When I end up merging it, I hear weird. I hear things. It's almost like two signals at the same time, and there's some weird.
For me, it's kind of weird. You're kind of cutting off the signal in half. You're not, but then you're trying to piece it back together.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to know where to slide back into place. But
now there's probably people, and like I said, this thing is so versatile. There's probably people that get the perfect sound out of it that way.
I see it more with the metal guys.
Well, yeah.
Especially the metal guys that seem to do it. I have a couple friends that made DIs of the Uberschall and some other amps, and they sound great through a cab, but who knows through another cab? And then if you might
what does your front of house sound like?
Exactly. No idea.
And if you do that, your cab sounds great on stage, but what is your front of house getting? Is it going to be kind of subpar compared to what a mic cabinet would really, really sound like?
yeah, it would be great if Kemper would do, if you could change the cab. Well, you can change the cab out, right?
No,
You
can swap.
Can you keep cab going to the front of house and then no cab? Okay,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. My
And
wish just came true.
But then you're relying on the merged process. So the merged process is the part that I just haven't heard a merged profile sound as sweet as a studio. And that's not sound they're not used. You could use them, and if you've if you don't compare them, it may sound as good or better.
Yeah.
I'm just a creature of habit, I guess. I like the ones I've already got. I think my guitar tone now is better than it's been in 20 years. And my clean sounds are cleaner, my dirty sounds are more clear. I've got way more control over everything. Because with a regular standard tube amp and a cabinet and mics, it's like a moving target. Every day you're trying to hit that. Yeah, there's so many variables. You're trying to hit that sweet spot every day. And if you can find that one profile in it that's got that sweet spot hit, then it's so consistent.
Well, I mean, you're doing big gigs. For a guy like me doing mostly bar gigs, some corporate stuff, but mostly bar gigs, I'm not in the PA half the time. But I'm able to get a good sound at low volume, which is a big deal for me, because I'm always getting yelled at, you're too loud, turn down, you're too loud. I can actually still get a good sound, even going just through a cabinet, in a club without, everybody freaking out, and it sounds good. So it's working for me.
So we're getting questions, and they're disappearing pretty quickly.
They do.
Because I don't want to interrupt. So.
No, interrupt, you have to. I did last time. Guys, send your questions again. Send them.
I needed
We need like a screen this big that'll like show it.
Can we do a GoFundMe for a big Kemper question BRITT profile screen?
I did have a question emailed to me about my fly rig case.
Oh yeah, I saw somebody. I meant to ask about that too. Yeah.
So this is a Pelican 1610. You can get them online or wherever. And there's a company in town. It's actually they're in here and maybe Minneapolis or somewhere up north. Anyway, the company's called Tour Supply Inc. There's a guy that they contract from Tour Supply that will outfit the inside of the case. So normally they come with just foam, and then you pick and do the foam. Pick the parts out you don't need. But this guy did such a great job of. I mean, he's got it with the little bi-level thing, so the knobs don't get too much pressure on them. My remote goes in there. I've got a wireless, all the cabling I need, and this whole thing is under 50 pounds. So,
which is important because
for airlines, yeah, they will charge you more if you go over 50 pounds. So this is right at 49 pounds, believe it or not. It's a very handy piece of gear.
Merge profiles sound worse to front of house when sending studio to house.
They sound worse. Well, I mean, actually, yeah, that's kind of the impression I get. I think the studios to the front of house just sound better. I think that's what he's saying. But that's just my experience. I'm not saying that I'm right all the time either. I mean, there's people who probably have monster guitar tones in front of house using merge profiles. So
now the guys who are using merge profiles, are they micing the cabs?
No, I wouldn't think they would. That's the whole point of merge, because you merge the cabinet. They should theoretically sound the same as a studio, but they just, in my experience, they don't.
Right.
What's your front of house say? Have you ever asked him?
Oh yeah, I mean,
that guy's got ears. I mean, he's
our front of house guy. He's been around. He's done sound for Alan Parsons' Journey, all these big people, and I ask him after every single show, "How was the guitar?" And he always says, "Great." I mean, it's almost getting boring. It's like you go on this tone quest for 20 years. You're wanting the next cool amp or the next pedal. You're always thinking you can make it better, and now it's almost boring because it's so consistently good that I don't know what else I could change. Now, when I do new profiles, I'll throw them in for a song or two, because about 2/3 of our show I've pretty much got set in stone. I know I'm not going to change those profiles. They just fit the songs perfectly. There's a handful of songs that I can play around with and try different ones. We'll do a cover song of the Eagles, and I'll throw a new profile in. But
what's your new favorite profile that you just started using?
Probably the Z-Rec. I just did that one. I haven't put it out yet, but it was a Z-Rec that I got, and I've been using it on the song "Come Crying to Me" live, and it's kind of a spanky. It sounds like Brad Paisley's sound. It's like a country, cleanish, dirty sound.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, you've heard that one.
I've actually played it 2 weeks ago. I used it.
Yeah,
real good.
And to me, it's very similar to my 56 Pro in some ways. It's got this, but it's got this zingier top end that's a little bit more EL84 than that.
Yeah, I would say it sounds more new vintage, but it's a very authentic sound, very clear, bold sound. The 56 has a little bit of that old sponge feel to it to me, which is killer. That's my new medium gain crunch rhythm sound.
Do you still use your Kemper at all?
Yeah, it's kind of what you just said. It's kind of funny. Some of the shows I play are pretty decent size, and I'm playing the small stuff. So depending, I've got a Jackson amp Works Me Fly that I absolutely love. My collection profile too, and it's kind of getting boring. That's kind of why I went back to an amp for a little while. I'm serious, like just what he just said. It's almost like it's just too easy. Guitar players, like I feel like we like to make things difficult. Well, not difficult, but we enjoy that change and like
the pursuit.
The pursuit, and like
when you're dating.
I might use a 5150, 5153 profile, and it's cool how it's left to that Marshall, but I know it's the real thing, but it's not. It just gets boring because it sounds so good and it's too easy almost, Well, but now I'm over it. I'm over my board, and I'm going back to that for a while. So
I think it's funny that after all the years of tone chasing, I mean, this is all a bunch of amps that I have now, but that white amp, the second one down, I've spent hours and hours in Jamie's garage tweaking it to sound exactly like I want an amp to sound. And so honestly, even though I profile all these amps every other week, I'm profiling new amps, and I try to work them in. I try to compare them. 2/3 of my show is still that amp, because that amp has the sound that I want to hear, and that's what, to me, in the real world, that's the amp I'd be using. So I think it's cool that this kind of represents the real world in a way.
Yeah, that's music. People that people have never really heard of it, and when they actually see, it's like when you profile your real amp that you love, that's when you really get to see the beauty
Somebody
in it.
just deleted 225 profiles in their stack. What? No, that's not what we said at all. No. Somebody I think it was Dane, just asked to hear Reza. Dane knows Reza.
Oh, okay. He knows Reza?
He knows Reza well.
Yeah, turn that in. So 58. These are your Wolfstone pickups?
This is the stripped
Strip
58.
58, yeah. I want one of those too.
It's my divorce guitar.
Nice.
When my ex saw that I bought this, she said, "That's it, I'm out of here." So I think I got the good end of the deal. And it has Wolftone Dr. Vintage pickups in it.
You want your Neil Schoen sound?
I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I texted Mike. I'm like, dude, I need a Neil Schoen sound, because we started doing some Journey on this in one of the bands I'm in, and so I said I need it with all the gack, as he calls it, all the gack, and to cover up all the bad notes that I can't play, that Neil can play, and we had some fun with it.
It's not a little boxy, but
Little boxy?
I don't know, mess with probably.
Something like that. Reese's a good guitar. I like her.
You like her?
I like her. She's my friend.
Any other questions?
Any questions? I kind of lost my feed.
Yeah, we probably held these people long enough.
Alrighty.
All right, we will keep doing this probably every 2 weeks or so. We've got a show coming up here in Nashville in a couple weeks. I may do something from Soundcheck, so
We should
maybe.
go sound check them, yeah.
Yeah. So
How do you manage the volume of the different rigs, and do you use a volume boost for your solos?
I manage the volume. I kind of even the volumes out so that they're all in the same ballpark using the cabinet button. And you can do it in the amp section or the cabinet section. But if you hold that down and go to the last page, you've got volume here on the cabinet, and it's also the same exact thing that's right here on the last page of the amp section. It's got a volume part. So that's where you kind of, if you've got a profile that's super low or super hot, you can adjust it and get it in the same ballpark as all your other profiles from there. And as far as volume boosts, every now and then I'll go up on a solo, I'll go up a light, but I don't do anything so drastic that it makes the sound man have to jump and grab his gain knob. Because a lot of times they'll gain it to where it's hot, but it's not going to clip. And if you send them a super hot signal, all of a sudden they're going to go into clipping and it's not going to sound as good. So I try to keep it as consistent as I can if you have a good sound man and they're pushing solos the way they're supposed to be doing. So I may have a slight jump, but it's not a huge volume jump.
Best MBRITT profiles to use with Les Pauls versus Strats. My LP has hot 500T pickups.
It's a bright
Ceramic.
hot pickup.
Almost 18 something pickup, well 15.
It's like they're like 18K or something like that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with really hot pickups because I don't personally. It's not my thing.
You seem to favor the antiquities.
I do.
which are low vintage.
Yeah,
style
and
pickups.
even in the 57, I've got the Bonamassas, which are even lower output than.
Beautiful 57 you have there.
I know. I got it from a buddy that and even the 335 that I had.
In theory, those 500 Ts, I mean, that your Marshall should kill with those.
Yeah,
I mean, they should kill.
I think it's just a matter of trial and error. I don't know what would work with those. And I had a buddy ask last night what profiles work better with single coils. I'm like, I use single coils with these, and to me they sound fine. But there's so many variations of what people
He
think.
said he needs a thick chunk.
A thick chunk. The
Definition.
thickest chunk that I have is like some of it's just in the profile, like the Bogner Ecstasy doesn't have as much of a chunk. The Diesel has a thicker chunk. Some of the Friedman stuff has a thicker low end.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not a really big fan of that super tight, crisp, like the metal stuff.
Well, your
the
driftwood
driftwood pack is the only one.
Yeah,
that's
the driftwood.
got me close. But even when I was doing that, I was having to send it to Paul and say, "Hey, is this
good?
Is this in the ballpark?" Because I
Yeah.
don't know how to judge that kind of stuff. Because it's not my bag, baby.
Your PT 100 is what Jerry Evil says.
Okay.
Yeah, man, that's exactly what I was just about to say, man. That channel 3 is that. I mean, that's a
That's a good chunk.
That's a great high
That
gain
is a good
tone
chunk.
for anything. I mean, it's great.
Jerry Evil, he was here last week too. Thanks for tuning back in, dude.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that is a big chunky tone.
I don't even think I have it on here anymore. I have to dump so many profiles to get new ones in because I get close to my limit that I just have to say, okay, which ones am I not going to use,
I know.
and put them in my local library and take them off.
Only 1,000 we can keep in there.
Only 1,000 guitar sounds.
I mean, how can you even survive? Only 1,000 sounds for a gig. I mean, you have 18 songs that you're doing. Oh my God! I don't know how you do it.
That's how many sounds per song.
Yeah, it's one per measure.
But honestly, I use 5 or 6 sounds, and that's kind of
We do kind of end up gravitating back to what's home. You
Yeah.
know? Like you're saying, your third power.
Yeah.
You know, on my stuff, maybe I need to coil tap my LP. You can.
if it's got the sound you want, I wouldn't mess with it. But
Yeah.
if you're looking for something different, you can always swap pickups. But if
know
you
what's
love the
swap pickups?
500s, man,
If you're trying to tame it, if you like the sound of pickups, yeah, I agree. I wouldn't change the sound of that. I would just. You may need to just bring the gain down a little bit, or
the
change the
distortion
definition.
sense in the input section. You've got
Distortion
your
sense.
Distortion sense.
There's something else we haven't talked about.
Honestly, I leave mine clean sense is 0 and distortion sense is 0. I never change those because all my guitars, whether it's a Tele or Les Paul and everything, they're kind of in the same range. You can come in, Richie. Richie's working on the bus. So all mine. That's why I like the light humbuckers and the hotter single coil. So they all kind of end up in the same
Match.
range.
And you like the P90s, which is kind of that hot single coil.
Exactly. So I'm able to keep these at 0-0. Now, if you have hot pickups or EMGs or actives or whatever, you might have to adjust those a little bit.
And the 500Ts may move into that arena.
Yeah.
You might want to, try the distortion sensitivity. That might be something to look into.
Any other questions before we go?
Okay. Maybe we'll see him next time on the sound check.
Yeah, and we'll try to keep doing these. So don't feel like this is your last shot. And this will be up for 24 hours, and then we'll try to, if Chris can help me again, try to get it up on YouTube. So
Somebody says, thanks, Home Slice.
thank you, Home Slice. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for checking us out.